Hello, my dear Less is More crew. I'm Madara Dislere and I'm from Latvia. I would like to present you my new idea for the story called Just Don't Cry. So, with this story, I want to touch the legacy of the Soviet time and especially an image of a Soviet woman who represents a woman, a wife, and a worker, and she is like a universal soldier who goes through the life without complaining and expressing any negative emotions. So my story begins when the Latvian woman Louise, 43 years old, arrives together with her kids Christopher, 20 years old, and Trine, 15 years old, to Tuscany, not only to enjoy the art of Renaissance, but also to meet Louise's new boyfriend, Federico, who is very progressive guy, but comes from a patriarchal Italian family. At the beginning, it seems like a dream. Christopher is fascinated by art of Renaissance and the idea of the ideal human being who combines physical, intellectual, and spiritual excellence. Louise enjoys to be in love with Federico, and Trina accepts everything because that's how she is. And it's also perfect till the moment Louise gets a phone call from her mom and gets to know that her beloved dog was run over by the car. Everything stops at that moment. The whole world freezes for Louise. She can't cry, she can't express any emotions. The same Trina and Christopher. Except Federico, who is very emotional and cries and is very, very deeply touched by this. So Louise starts to distance herself from everything and everyone, and the only thing she sees in her mind is the moment in which she experiences from again and again the moment how her dog was approaching the car, but she never experiences the death of the dog. Christopher and Louise, left alone, start to get to know each other, and through the memories about Frida, we get to know their life. And we see that actually Christopher was never loved by Trina's dad, and Louise was always supporting Trina's dad because she wanted to keep the family. And we see that Trina's dad also was treating Louise in a very emotional, violent way. He was like not talking to her sometimes for days and was punishing her as pretending as if she were not there. But Louise, as a universal soldier, went through all of it without showing any emotions. So in this kind of life, and was also Frida, the dog, who was always there for Louise, was always the one who was standing next to her when she was in all of those events. And we meet an Italian family, Federico's family, which is very loud and expressive, and but we also see that Federico's mother is still serving her husband and treating him as a god. And Louise gets to know that once they went to Soviet countries, they were visiting, they had a trip, and mother shows the pictures in which we see Soviet women holding the guns or driving the tractors, and we hear the story of Federico's mother, who was fascinated by those women, the emancipation of their women and the way they were presenting themselves were like ideal for Federico's mom. And at the same time, we see that the husband of Federico's sister hits their dog because it has stolen the piece of meat from the table. All the kids are screaming. It's such a mess around it all. And Louise experiences the panic attack. Everyone is a bit scared, but Louise calms down and says that there's nothing to be worried about and they should leave her alone. So she has emotional distance with Federico, and she gets back to the memories of Frida. But then, at certain point, she understands that the way she feels the best is when she dreams about the time when she arrived to Tuscany. So basically, the past and the future and the imagination just mixes within her head, and she starts to create her own reality in which she feels herself the best. So she sees that everywhere she is now also Frida is participating, and she creates the images, and after some time we see that actually those images are also shown on the wall in the Museum of Art in Riga. So Louise finishes her own movie and is one of other artists who present the work about the Soviet women. So we see the paintings and art installation made by different women and referring to the image of the strong Soviet woman. And in one of those videos, Louise sees a little girl who is crying because her nose is broken and it's bleeding, and the doctor punishes her by saying that she can't. Why is she crying? Because boys don't cry. And this girl takes out the braid and shows it to the doctor that actually she is a girl. By seeing this video, Louisa gets very emotional. It's a years old girl which is in that video. And Louisa feels very emotional. She feels that she wants to cry and she goes to hide herself from others. But at the same time, we hear that the loudspeaker announces that the museum will be closed in 15 minutes and everyone needs to leave. She hides behind the curtain and holds her tears, but the woman working there opens it and asks her to leave. Louisa is leaving the room, but she feels that tears are trying to get out of her. She reaches the end of the exhibition hall and breaks into the crying. There's also Federico, and he holds her, and Louisa is crying, but the woman working there is just saying that they need to leave right away.